What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Cover Band Confidential podcast, the podcast for cover band musicians and band leaders to learn some new tricks and to finally get all the liquor that you requested on your rider. Here in Atlanta, Georgia, this is Adam Johnson.
Here in Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Dan Ray.
What's so funny? Do you guys don't have a rider?
We don't, although I will tell you, I sent a contract to a client whose wedding is in a couple of weeks here, and it turns out he is a law student studying music law. And he approved of our contract as, not actually a lawyer yet, but as far as a student can, he approved of it. And he shared with me an assignment they gave him in his music law class that was a hypothetical, like a mocked up email from a venue owner to his lawyer with all these demands for a band to write up a contract for it. It was like, man, it was crazy what this band was asking for, and technical requirements and backstage requirements, and it was written all thorny and naughty, like you'd be 5 paragraphs in and it'd remind you of something back up there. But then, remember how I said that? Well, they also want, it's all built to trip up a student. So it's amazing what law schools are putting music students through, music law students through.
Yeah, we had just done the lawyer convention a couple months back, and we've done that a couple of years, and I was definitely worried when we sent that contract out because it's a bunch of lawyers looking at a contract, and they were actually they changed very little. I had accidentally put the wrong date in, but other than that, they were fine with all the language. And then we have this event coming up in August where this the president of the homeowners association is like taking us to task on how ridiculous our contract is. I'm like, dude, the lawyers didn't have a problem with it.
Really?
Yeah. So want to thank everybody for their continued support. I wanted to let you know that we have officially launched our YouTube channel. It is Cover Band Confidential. We don't have a fancy pants custom URL yet because we need 1,000 subscribers to get it. But all of the episodes so far have been put up or will be up hopefully by this weekend. And all new ones will be put up there, as well as hopefully some additional video content that we devise for some stuff that may require a bit more explanation, or maybe just an audio visual component. So go check us out and like, subscribe, comment, and all of that good stuff. But yeah, good times. I hope everybody is having a good week so far. Thank you to all of our new listeners. The last episode that we did was actually the most downloaded episode we've done so far, and we have been.
Oh, and by a long shot, I mean.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, it's pretty close. So it was that one, and then the marketing your band, which is pretty. It's pretty important. And then like the Backtracks one, and then I think it's like episode 1 is like our top 4.
Yeah, I guess it's not that this last one was the most downloaded. It's that this week was the biggest downloads by far of the history of the weeks, right? So,
yes.
Welcome to all the new folks. And it's clear some people like dug back into the archives and listened to some old stuff. And hope you've enjoyed the progression of our quality, of what we put out.
It hasn't progressed that far, but we're getting there.
We're working on it.
Yeah. Well, speaking on things that we have been working on, one of the things that we have been asking people to do is to email us gigs from heck stories because we're a family-friendly podcast. We wanted to make sure that, this was friendly for all ages. So we were asking for gigs from heck and for you to email us at coverbandconfidential@gmail.com. And this week, we actually got one. This is from a guy named Jason, and he wanted to share his gig from heck. I'll go ahead and just read his message. He said, "First off, I really enjoy your show. You guys are knowledgeable and give fair and honest opinions." I agree. I've done podcasts in the past and know the trials and tribulations. You guys knock it dead. So pat yourself on the back.
Thank you for that.
You often talk about gigs from heck, and I have one that happened recently. We got booked for our first show at a venue. They reached out to me, not the other way around, which is always good. Over the phone, the owner asked if we knew any country songs. I told her we know a few, and we are adding more as we go. She saw our Facebook page and knew we were primarily a rock band. Our saying on the background photo was 90s to current rock and more, ! Seems pretty straightforward, but if she wants us to play a few more country songs, money talks. We get to the venue, and it's an amazing place. Huge room, 500 capacity. Stage is in 2 tiers and has ample room for everything. I think he means they had like a drum riser and stuff. We even got a friend to help with sound. Setup, sound check, all good. 9:30 rolls around, and the DJ announces us to the stage. Singer is MIA, so I find him out back talking on the phone and get it started. We go through the first set, and a couple people were giving us props, saying we sounded good. Then the owner comes up. I quote, "Guys, this ain't gonna work. We need country music in this bar. Y'all are going to have to pack it up." We were dumbfounded. We asked if we could do one more set and receive half the agreed upon amount. She agreed, but then proceeded to cherry pick the set list for songs she wanted. 2 songs in, we realized someone killed the power to the mains. We have good monitor setups, so we didn't notice on stage. We played the remaining songs, even though we got requests for other songs in our list. We actually brought a crowd of 20 or so. The rest were barflies and regulars. Even had people travel to see us. Last song of the night, our singer loses his you-know-what and proceeds to sing the song incorrectly and get pissy. Any vibe we had was lost in that moment, which ended in an argument and us kicking him out of the band. It was brought to our attention a few months later that the owner is notorious for pulling this exact thing whenever the bar isn't packed, so she doesn't have to pay the band full price. Enjoy the tale, keep rocking, and share some bad gig stories with us all. Jason.
Wow. Thanks, Jason. A lot to learn from there.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, I sometimes feel like there's if your scene had a back channel, you know, what would bands be saying about venues, you know, privately amongst ourselves? We'd never say it publicly if we are being professional about it. But, you know, there's a lot of intel we could share if we had that kind of thing set up. We don't have it like that in my scene here. I wish we did.
So I'm in like a private Facebook group of basically guys that are doing, you know, kind of smaller acoustic gigs or duo gigs. And it's just basically to share the business. And sometimes those conversations pop up, and you know that information does get around, at least in our area. And you know, we've been so adamant about, well, if something isn't there that we think should be, maybe you should start one.
Right.
So
right.
If you are, you know, a prominent or semi-prominent member of your local music scene and you don't have a group like that, you should probably start one. You can just make it a secret group on Facebook, and it's invite only, and you know, whoever makes it inside the circle of trust, you know, gets their say. So it's been valuable for me for sure.
I'm sure.
If for nothing else, just to realize the amount of business that could be had. You know, I know we were talking with our good friend Sammy Swanson from Handsome Young Ladies, who, you know, I mean, that's primarily how he makes his money, is doing those solo acoustic sets. They're happening all over town all week long. So on a related note, if you guys didn't see our post, Sam and the Handsome Young Ladies released their first single off their record. It's their take on Benny and the Jets.
That's just amazing, isn't it? It's so
really
good.
And there's a video for it. And it's really, I think it's really inspiring for guys like us to see what a band that's really swinging for the fences can do. Because they're not going to be satisfied with playing, you know, the bars in their town, you know, on the weekends. Like, they want to do this as a full-time gig, and they're doing their music their way, in a very marketable form. And, you know, we'll be talking about Sam a lot.
So much to learn from Sam. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that video was, I've seen some local band videos that were, shot on an iPhone and underlit and edited by a grad student. And, you know, they're sweet. Their heart's in the right place. Right. But this video looks like it could be on MTV if they still played videos. Yep. It's got a story that makes some sense. It's got visuals that are interesting, but aren't, I don't know. It's just super well done. It's very, very professional looking.
I agree.
So yeah, I was very impressed. Very, very impressed.
On the exact opposite note, I posted some video on our socials today as we are getting ready for the for our 90s night. I just shot some quick and dirty footage of me and two of the other guys from the band recording just some quick covers for our 90s stuff to post on Instagram that has no plot and very little production quality. But it was fun for us to do it and kind of show people, hey, here's what three people in this band by themselves with an acoustic guitar can pull off. So
yeah, and I'll tell you, even so, it was the other end of the production spectrum, but it was still really nice. I saw the No Scrubs one. Were there others?
There will be. What I ended up doing is we shot one long continuous thing of us doing, I think, two. And when I put it all together, it was over a minute long, which means you can't post it on Instagram. So I went ahead and split it up. So even though in the front end I say we're going to play a couple of songs, I only did one. The next one is going to be "Wannabe" by the Spice Girls.
Nice.
If you want to see what two dudes and a girl can do with that song, it's very compelling stuff.
Well, I'll tell you, it was. I mean, the harmonies were strong. The playing was good. It was simple but really well done. So I think it's a good lesson there that you can go full production value. And I don't know how much Sam spent on all that, but it wasn't. He didn't turn it out in a weekend, nope. Right? Versus you probably built that whole video in the time it took to play it, plus 15 minutes of cutting it and putting a fade on the end. I mean,
pretty much. Just
and both are effective. Both are really effective.
Yes, and they're effective in very different ways.
Yes,
with him, with the full production is showing, hey, we take this seriously, and we take how we sound and how we look and how we're presented seriously. And ours was kind of saying, yeah, we don't really take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah,
which we do musically, and I think that's really what it shows is like, everything was the way it should have been, but it wasn't. We didn't, there wasn't a huge amount of effort put into it. It was just like, hey, here's something, and it's kind of fun. And I think at the end we're laughing because we're holding out the end and we're trying to figure out like what to do next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and it seems very casual. It seems the video quality seems really thrown together, but the musical performance in it, even though it was very short, is really high quality. The vocals are good. So, I think that's a really good sort of ethos to shoot for on stage is like casual quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
as a feel,
is a good way to put it.
Like as a vibe for a band, like, yeah, we kick ass, but it's no big deal. Yeah. It's kind of family friendly. We kick butt, we kick rear end. But it's no big deal. We're still.
I'll put a clown horn sound over that.
Oh, good, fine, good.
Something like
honk.
That.
We kick honk. So yeah, very cool stuff. Very cool stuff.
But yeah, and that kind of fell out of a certain situation. So one of our guitar players who's playing for this event works for a very prominent international amp company. And we were supposed to have rehearsal last night, and they had a bunch of very expensive and impressive doohickeys come in from Europe that were going to be sent out for a bunch of gear reviews this week. And so he got a call from London that said, hey, mate, I need you to test all 50 of these units today because they have to be done. So he was like, hey, I can't come. So what we ended up doing is told the drummer to enjoy a night off, and then the three of us just got together and did just a straight vocal rehearsal. Have you guys ever done those?
Oh yeah. Super valuable.
Yeah.
It's the best thing.
Just to go in and kind of split your parts up. It was just an acoustic guitar, a laptop, and an iPad with with GarageBand up so we could plunk out stuff on a piano. But it's invaluable stuff, and it's just one more piece of the puzzle for all this new material for us to work through. So super valuable. And, I'm actually starting to get excited for the show as opposed to being completely, crippled with fear of it being a huge failure.
Yeah. Doing sectional rehearsals like that is really valuable. I mentioned last week, I'm bringing on a second drummer, a beeline drummer. Yep. And he and I are going to get together sometime this week and just work on transitions. Mm-hmm. Because we have, when we really get rolling, we take maybe 3 seconds between songs, maybe. And a lot of them have sort of designed and written transitions between them. Mm-hmm. And he, in rehearsal, we keep getting to the end of a song and then doing that transition. And he's like, what? Has no idea what we're doing. And then, So like getting him oriented inside the structure of those songs that come in a particular order. We've been playing him that way for 9 months, and we all know him real well, but he doesn't know what's going to come next or how to get there or any of that. So just him and me, we're going to drill that stuff for a while until he's comfortable.
Yeah, that'll be super helpful.
Yeah.
We've got an 80s date coming up in 2 weeks, and it'll be the first time that we try out this X Live card that does the multi-track recording. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to have that kind of stuff, because then with somebody that you're working in, you can literally send them, hey, here's how we play, like here's a set. And so they have an audio reference for all of the things that you were talking about. Just one more tool in the toolbox for band leaders. So
I have a recorded just a stereo recording of our last show. So I've sent him that to study. And that's helping, but nothing like doing it live.
For sure. Well, you had reached out today and said that you had a couple of things that you wanted to address.
I do. So you got to deal with your topic of high emotional investment. High intensity topic a couple of weeks ago, which was backing tracks, right? I want to talk today. This just comes up on Facebook and other gigging sort of discussion boards all the time. Mm-hmm. So I want to have a conversation about iPads, music stands, and other sort of memory devices.
Okay. Not shorts? Or is that...
Shorts we can talk about. That's another episode.
That's a whole different episode. We're going to do an entire episode on shorts.
We may be able to deal with that really fast. Wearing shorts on stage is just wrong.
No, yeah. I do not agree with it. But I'm also coming from a background of wearing a 3-piece suit in, a Georgia summer on a gig. So
right. I'm
a glutton for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so despite that just flat opinion I have, I want to put this conversation in a particular context, which is whatever you feel is right, and I'm talking to individual band people here as I say this, including you and me, whatever is important to you that your band do is valid. Okay, including if it's important to you that your band has every song, every word, and every chord, and every lick memorized. If that's important to you and you want to invest in that, that is completely fine. I'm not saying that that's not worth investing in.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's on the flip side of that, nobody gets to tell anybody else what's right or wrong about what's important to somebody else's band.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the kind of the context I want to put this all in. There are people who have really strong opinions. I don't know. I may have said that more or less eloquently than you said basically the same thing 2 weeks ago. I can't remember how you said it, but this is all in sort of the context of like, look, opinions are opinions and they're fine. And I'm going to give you, the case for using memory aids on stage. And we didn't really set this up, Adam, but if you want to be the counterpoint, the devil's advocate, we could do that.
I can definitely provide that. And I'll go ahead and preface that I have used them on occasion. I try not to. I think that, well, I'll start with my first argument.
Sure.
Is that, at least from a musician's perspective, and again, we are not the target market for these kinds of things, but when I see musicians on stage in a band context and they all have iPads or one person has an iPad or what have you, it makes me feel like they're not prepared.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. All right, got it. Well, so I get that. So in the Clanky Lincolns, the two of us in the front, who are mainly the lead singers, use iPads, and I'm using mine to drive the mixer as well as to manage the set list and for songs that I needed to manage the lyrics and chord chart. And I think I would say it depends on what you're preparing for. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if it's, and it makes sense that a musician would assess the memorization as part of preparation.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm here to tell you, audiences like civilians do not think that.
Yeah, and I totally can see that. And you made a valid point as well. A lot of times those devices are on stage pulling double duty as sound devices. We've definitely gotten a couple of comments because we use our phones to adjust our monitor mixes. They're like, "What are they doing on their phones during the first three songs?"
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a part of that.
Yeah. See, now I think phones on stage are way more distracting for an audience than iPads.
Yeah.
Way more. Because it looks like you're texting or something. It looks like you're on Facebook.
Yeah, that's fair.
I actually did pull out my phone and Facebook Live on stage one time, and it was pretty awesome. But I think an iPad clamped to the mic stand looks like a piece of equipment. I think it looks like, it was another piece of the complaint is like, oh, it's this big, ugly, rectangle of glass on stage. I literally have never had anyone mention it who was not, online behind the anonymity of the internet to complain to me about it. Even musicians in the audience never said a word.
Yeah, I mean, most people know what's up. And this is also not for like, the solo acoustic guys or the duo guys where, you've got to have, 400 songs on tap at any given moment. That's a different story altogether. Yep. And like I said, I have used them on certain occasions. If we're onboarding a bunch of material, like the first 80s show I did with the guys that ended up becoming members only, I had an iPad on stage, and I have played I've played in bands where I was a sub and they wanted things done a certain way, and I took meticulous notes, and they didn't want an iPad. I had to have a music stand and I had to have a binder of notes.
Wow.
So my lyric sheets were coded and printed out and on, in page separators, and, I had to rearrange them every set because I was like, hey, could I do this? And they're like, no, it has to be a binder. I don't know what that was about, but
I mean, was that to match with what they had?
Well, no one else was really using it. They were just, it was for it was a 70s period, era band.
Oh,
and
so an iPad would have been an anachronism. I got it. Yeah.
I that seems like a bit of a stretch to me, and I've seen that band, since then, and I've definitely seen them use iPads. So I don't know what it was about.
Yeah,
but yeah. They definitely serve a purpose, and like you said, most people don't care.
Most people don't care. Now, the other anti-iPad thing I hear said is that it is, if you're staring at an iPad, you're not really performing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my response to that. That is absolutely true.
Yeah.
That is completely true. You and I both commented on anyone who hasn't seen Weezer's new cover of Africa by Toto. I know. Well, it's amazing. Weezer put out basically a straight cover of Africa, and it's very, very good. Very well produced, very nice. And then there was this video of it, I guess, on Jimmy Kimmel.
It was on Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah. And what's the name of the Weezer dude?
Rivers
Cuomo. Yeah. Honest to God, he read the whole song off of a MacBook that was sitting on a bar stool in front of him. And he never made eye contact with the camera once that I saw, never looked out at the audience once that I saw. It was weird. It was really weird. First of all, somebody his age should have grown up listening to that song. How do you not have those lyrics totally ingrained?
Yeah.
Like bizarre.
And here's a little known fact about Rivers Cuomo. Before there was Weezer, that dude was in a hair metal band on the Sunset Strip. Their whole thing was they would go out on Sunset, to Gazzari's and all those places wearing towels, like they had just gotten out of the shower, on roller skates, and that's how they would hand out flyers. That was like their signature thing.
I bet that worked. I bet that was good.
So he's a total 80s hair metal shredder, totally hiding behind, this indie rock persona.
All right. So maybe Toto wasn't his genre. I get that.
Everybody knew that song.
Everybody knew that song. Everybody still does. The point is that video is so the epitome of the memory aid as crutch, memory aid as a barrier between you and the audience. That is exactly what not to do.
But if any of you have ever watched a show by Weezer, him not staring into a laptop is barely an upgrade.
Is it?
He's just not that guy.
Fair enough. And, they've had plenty of success with him being not that guy, so maybe I shouldn't judge. The point is, people say an iPad is a barrier between you and the audience. I will tell you, anyone who's ever been to one of our shows has experienced no barrier between us and the audience. We're out in the audience all the time. Even when we're not, there's like a real audience connection. It's what we're known for. I promise you, my iPad does not impede my being with the audience in the slightest. And part of that is I'm actually off book for almost the whole show. Right. I really only need it for newer tunes or really complex tunes or, the one I really need it for right now, because we've only played it in a couple of gigs, is, and I'm going to, this is so deep soul confession time now, never been a big Foo Fighters fan. Not that I have anything against them. I just never spent much time listening to. I liked what I've heard. I just haven't had it on repeat in my life. So we're doing "Learn to Fly," which I like. I like that song a lot. But all the places the chorus kind of starts over at the end surprise me every time. So I got to have that up, so I'm on track with what's happening there. Things like that. So,
my Foo Fighters confession is I really liked the first 3 records, and that was about it.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't even tell you what's on the first 3 records. So.
Well, "Learn to Fly."
Fair enough. I mean, I literally I had to YouTube that one because I don't know them, right? But
you should go back and listen to the first Foo Fighter record. That's the Foo Fighters record. Is the one that's basically just Dave Grohl. It's got a real great just kind of demo feel to it, and I like the songs. I think they're kind of fun, and he was definitely stepping out. But
no, that's cool. I like Dave Grohl as a guy. I love him as a performer. Who he is on stage is like, boy, be that instead of Rivers Cuomo. My God,
he's basically the patron saint of rock and roll, because
he's incredible.
Now that Lemmy has died,
and so I feel like I should know his music better. It's not even I feel like I should know his music better, and I just really don't. So that's kind of how that is. The 90s were sort of a dark era for me. I was way deep down a classic rock hole at the time, and I really was not listening to what was on the radio. So I hardly know the 90s at all.
So yeah, my 90s deal, I was listening to I was in high school, so it was like whatever was on the radio, and then like Dream Theater. And then I went through like this huge SoCal punk deal in college. Right as emo was kind of like blowing up, we like hated emo. And then I totally ended up in an emo band. So
yeah,
that's how it goes.
Yeah. Anyway, so the point is, if you here's the other thing that I think I would say when people get really uptight about, how dare you have memory aids on stage, I would say this: if the quality of your performance is important to you, if what's important to you is the quality of your performance, you want to put in every tool you can possibly put in to make sure it's a high quality performance. So I don't have to worry about like my brain glitching out and forgetting the second verse of Kiss. It's not a concern for me because I got it right there. Now, that one is deeply ingrained in my gray matter. There's no chance I'm going to lose a second verse of it. But forgetting how the chords go to something, or just that moment we all have on stage every now and then. I find that a memory device is a way of taking that mental load off of myself so that I can focus on what really matters in my show, which is how we're connecting with the audience and how we're all performing, how we're all moving on stage, and sort of the ethos and the feel. I have no attention on remembering anything because I don't have to. It's right there in front of me. And that really leaves me able to make my show be high energy and connected and all I really want it to be. And at the same time, honest to God, if what matters to you is showing that you can memorize well, God bless. I have no problem with that. Even the way I just said it kind of diminishes that as being important. And I don't mean to do that. If it really is important to you, if it's important to you that part of your show is literally that it comes out of your memory into your hands and out into the molecules of air, seriously, God bless. Go to work on that. Have that be what you work on. It's not what I've chosen to work on.
The two things that kind of pop into my mind is, these things can be as much of a crutch as you let them be. So,
Absolutely.
like you were saying, like, yeah, it's there, but I'm not leaning on it. And it doesn't have to be an iPad. Like a mic stand can be a crutch. I don't know how many country singers I see, on TV or on stage playing guitars that aren't plugged in because they can't perform without one.
Right.
So anything can be that. And the other thing that I think that a lot of people don't understand is what it feels like to be on stage and sing and perform songs. Because, you always see some picture of a guy like, I don't know, Axl Rose or Ozzy Osbourne. And they're like, he's staring at the lyrics of the song he wrote. He's like, yeah, but you also don't realize that when people are performing, there are thousands of things going on. And I don't know how many times I have been in a performance doing a song that I've done 1,000 times and knowing that the second verse is about to start and I don't know what I'm going to say.
Exactly.
And usually, miraculously, muscle memory kicks in and it just comes out. But I swear, a couple of months back, we literally start almost every single show with "Video Killed a Radio Star" because it's the first song that was played on MTV, and I straight up forgot the first verse, like it just wasn't there. And I was, and I wouldn't have even had a lyric sheet to cheat off of because again, we've done it hundreds of times. But that's just one of those things that can happen because, it's our jobs to do, to do all the things. And usually something's going to fall to the wayside and, it could be the words to the song that, you're being paid to sing.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're on stage, it's a high mental activity environment.
Yeah.
You're thinking about, how's the audience now and how are they reacting and, how's everybody playing and what does that look on my drummer's face mean? And how, just your mind is just really busy when you're performing or mine is a lot of the time. Now there are those, well, that's the thing to say actually, because the goal for me of performing is that moment when all of that disappears. Mm-hmm. That moment when I'm just in the flow and I'm connected with the audience and there's that energy exchange between me and the audience and the band and we're all just in the pocket together and it's just this, gorgeous groovy moment that is lasts for a millisecond and also for all time. And you know what I'm talking like that God, there's just something transcendent about those moments of performance. And if what is there for me is, oh man, how does the next verse start? Then I'm dealing with that instead of having that moment of performance.
Yeah. The other thing that I have struggled with in situations where I was using an iPad or a book of some kind is being comfortable just not using it. And that's where it can also be a crutch where it's like, come on, you've done this song 10 times on stage now. It's time to put it away.
Or at least I don't need to page through the song that I know so well. Like, the app we use is called Band Helper, and in my normal layout of it, I have the set list sort of in a left column and the song in a big window on the right. And I sometimes will find myself like paging through the song on the right. By the way, I have a Bluetooth page turner pedal. I hardly ever touch the device during the show. I actually think that's pretty distracting. People like keeping themselves with their finger on their iPad. I find that distracting when I watch people doing it. So I have a stomp pedal that sits down there among my Helix and my Voice Live and just, I kick my way through the things. But there are times when I'll be singing a song I know really well, Folsom Prison Blues. Really, do I need to have the words up in front of me? No, I can just sing it and move on to the next song in the set list when it's time and it's fine. Yeah.
Yep. But it's all good because whatever you're doing, as long as it's working, you should do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, and I'd encourage people to just have a little The world has enough strong opinions.
Oh my gosh, can we just stop? Can we just stop with it?
Really, the world does not need your strong opinion in addition to all the other strong opinions it's got. Let's just relax a little bit.
Opinions are like belly buttons.
Oh,
everybody
yeah,
but
right.
Patricia Heaton has one.
And a guy in my high school.
Yeah. That was one of the weirdest thing. Patricia Heaton doesn't have a belly button. She got like a tummy tuck, and she was just like, I don't need this.
Yeah. A friend of mine in high school had like a hernia when he was a baby. Didn't have a belly button.
I just had this moment from the live action Dennis the Menace movie with Walter Matthau. They're talking about where babies come from. And he goes, well, the belly button opens up, and the girl goes, well, why, how come men have them? And he just quite plainly replied, so they don't look weird in bathing suits. I just thought that was
a good answer.
I thought that was a
good
perfect,
answer.
Like, he didn't even think about it. It was like, well, how come men have them? So they don't look weird in bathing suits. I was like, that's genius.
Like, obviously.
So, yeah. Yeah, I think all of those things are true.
Yep. Or not. Up to you. The point is,
yeah, I mean, if I had a sub and he came in with an iPad and he had all of his charts laid out, rock on, dude. Even our full-time guys didn't always have that. They'd come in with like a notebook, like a spiral notebook with stuff. And like, I've had to have that conversation. Like, hey, it's time for you to be off book. But again, I run a very different operation, and but like, we did Thriller cover to cover last year for a Halloween event. That was probably one of those things that we may do once a year, if ever. And me and the other female vocalists were definitely using an iPad for those lyrics, because I don't need to commit the lyrics to Lady in My Life. I don't.
The girl is mine. Yeah.
I mean, I already had that one, but like some of the B-sides and the deep cuts on Thriller, Lady in My Life is like the downerest of like, it's the last song in the record, and it just fades out over this R&B slow jam. It's just like,
yeah. I have seen, well, here's one other thing about music stands. Not iPads per se, but music stands. Yeah. It's true that music stands take up a fair amount of visual space on the stage.
Yes.
However, I think they take up only as much energy on the stage as the performer gives them as they work with it.
Yeah, it's the exact same argument. It's as much of a hindrance as you want it to be. One of the things, we had that conversation about sunglasses. I think that's actually one of those things that makes using lead charts and iPads a little less noticeable. Sure. Because as long as you're looking, as your face is looking out, people can't tell that you're reading. So that's another benefit if you wanted to go the Corey Hart route like we have. Right.
Or you get one of those wedge monitor looking teleprompter things.
Well, I mean, if you got a budget for that, those things are expensive.
But I mean, that's what the pros have. That's what the pros do. That's what, it's what Ozzy's reading off of.
It's true.
It's funny you mention Ozzy. I mean, first of all, he's ancient and he's got about 5 brain cells left. So of course he's got to read his lyrics. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. But even like back in the day, like, use your illusion era Guns N' Roses were using teleprompters.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to what I said. 20s. Yeah, but it goes back to what I said. They were committed to the quality of their performance. They weren't going to let some weird mind brain fart thing happen that messed up their performance. They weren't going to be, that band that was that casual about it.
Now, they were casual about everything else, but
Well, yeah, but I mean, say whatever you will about Axl Rose. He when he turns up, he puts on a good show. Now, here's the flip side of that. The first time I saw Feist.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea who I was going to see. A friend of mine had tickets. It was before her second album came out, before she was on the Apple commercial, and like she was pretty unknown. And I didn't know her, but this whole room full of people at Cat's Cradle in Chapel Hill definitely knew her and were singing along and stuff. And she was playing the song that later I found out was called Mushaboom.
Yep.
And coming into the second verse, completely forgot the lyrics. Forgot. And it was just her acoustic. It was the rest of the band was on break. She was doing this acoustic and she totally forgot the lyrics. And she stopped and had to go around again to it and still didn't quite have it. And she turned it into I don't know what's happening here. I wrote this. I do know it. What, she ended up does anybody know this song? I obviously don't. And she turned it into a sing-along and stopped she had a question about if people understood the pun she was making in the lyrics, which most people in the audience didn't. And she turned it into this really great moment of audience connection. And if you've ever seen Feist perform, I've never seen a performer with that degree of audience connection. She's incredible live. But she turned this moment of, it could have been the, embarrassing, and she may have been embarrassed about it later. I don't know, but she was such a pro about it and she was so sweet and authentic about it. It was the highlight of the show for me.
That's great.
So all that I said, you also can totally survive and make something like that work if you are as talented as Feist, which probably few people on the planet are.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen moments where spontaneity has given way to connection. There's a local guy named Butch Walker who is legend around here, and you probably know of him even if you've never heard his name. You've heard his songs, you've heard stuff he's produced, but he was just great with that kind of stuff. He could just pull any song out of anywhere. And, if something went wrong, he was just going to roll with it. It was just going to be a part of, whatever, sorcery he was going to perform that night. So I definitely know. Right. I've definitely been privy to those kinds of experiences, and it is cool. So just connect with your audience and do a good job.
That's the thing.
And don't do a bad job.
Yeah. And bring whatever tools you got to do a good job. And if for you that's your memory, God bless. And if for others it's your iPad, God bless.
Do it.
Do it.
I think that's a good logo. That's a good tagline. Somebody should use that. Just do it.
Just do it.
I'm pretty sure no one has taken that yet.
I don't think. We could just swoosh that right onto our site and
just wait for the jack to roll in, or the cease and desist letters.
There it is. Yeah, it's gonna be one or the other.
Very cool. Any other parting thoughts?
All right, man. No. I think we've done it.
We've definitely done it.
When we let me know about the hate mail we received this week.
You know what? Again, we're starting to get into clickbait territory. We're just putting out stuff, very controversial topics.
I know,
bringing in our dozens of listeners.
Really, next week abortion.
Oh.
No,
you said that.
No. I did. We should probably cut it, but don't. But
you know what? Actually, this has been a pretty good episode. This might be the first one that I literally just bounce and throw up online. Because even with the awkward pauses, it's it's tighter than probably 80% of what we've done already.
This is the thing. We are awkward, so it's just authentic that they're awkward pauses.
Well, if that's the case, I'll go ahead and call it. That's going to do it for us this week. Please share with your friends. Subscribe, like, and share.
Yeah, go onto iTunes and like and comment and all that stuff on iTunes. It really makes a difference.
And hit us up on our Facebook page. And if you've got stories or feedback or hate mail or love mail, if that's a thing, send us something to coverbandconfidential@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Thank you all for listening. And that'll do it for us this week here in Atlanta, Georgia. This is Adam Johnson.
From Greensboro, North Carolina.
You have been listening to the Cover Band Confidential Podcast, episode 12. Have a good week.